Good morning. This is my 5th time trying to make this video. My dogs are just insanely hyper today. So today is April 2nd, it's 2025, and I'm going to talk about dentures, but I also want to talk a little bit about relationships. I am going to go into a little bit of, sorry, that's my work. I am going to go into a little bit about some of the I'm just going to give a quick sorry, my dogs are like really distracting, and I'm not going to restart this video. So just some recaps. I'm getting snap-on dentures in the future. It's going to be about 4, 5, 6 months as soon as I'm done healing on top of everything, okay? I have 3 screws right now in the bottom, 4 on top, and after the whole process is done and over with, I'm going to take my dentures, snap them in, and hope that it'll be a lot better than what I have right now, which is these immediate dentures. Why did I get dentures? When I was younger, I did some chemotherapy for leukemia. I did 6 years of that. Over time, my teeth got really brittle. They were constantly chipping, and I had a lot of sharp edges on most of my teeth. They were jagged, broken. Some of them were decaying. And I remember when I was younger, I was about, I want to say 15 years old. I went in for a cleaning, and the dentist told me, he goes, man, this is the worst set of teeth I've ever seen. And they were really crooked too. He says, these are the worst set of teeth. Come look at this, and blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, you know, I also had like leukemia, which was a problem, you know, and I was told that it would be a problem, and it did become a problem. And he's like, oh, what did the chemotherapy prevent you from picking up a toothbrush? Immediately, I held a long term resentment with dentists in any manner at all. And so anytime I had teeth problems, I would pull my own teeth. My wife got used to seeing me sitting on the couch, grabbing my lineman's pliers and just pulling them out, or taking a flathead screwdriver or whatever tool I had in my arsenal to pull my own teeth out. And all in all, I think it was just with my wife, I had 5 that I pulled myself. And I don't recommend that at all. Just face the music, go to the dentist, get it done if you need a tooth pulled, or see what they can do. I don't recommend doing that. So if you have your teeth, keep them as long as possible, okay? So moving forward, I'm at work. This is 7 years going back now. I'm at work, and I was talking to this coworker. I was having a bad toothache. I was doing security at the time. And so this dude was constantly just smiling at customers. And I mean, good looking guy, you know, very charming. He was just like, hey. All the gals loved this dude. And I was just like, you know, I was like, man, my teeth are killing me. And he's like, oh, that's why I got these big old pearly whites, you know. He's like, you know, these are snap-on dentures. And I was like, what do you mean snap-on? Like they go over your teeth? He's like, no, I had all my teeth ripped out, and I have snap-on dentures now. I'm sure you've done all the research, hopefully, so I'm not going to go into what each one is. So I didn't do a lot of research back then because I was like, that sounds really expensive. So I didn't do any research in any way. And so moving forward, I always had this in the back of my mind. Moving forward to about 3 months ago, my wife and I were at Texas Roadhouse. We were eating, and I ate a steak, and it was painful. I don't keep secrets from my wife, and especially when it comes to pain. If I have a headache, even after the headache's gone, my wife will hear about it for another week or 2 that I had a headache, okay? I hate headaches. I don't know what a small headache is to me because they just all feel like migraines, okay? So to keep my teeth pain from her is kind of a big deal. I really share everything with her, except that. I was always embarrassed by my smile. I didn't want her to tell me, well, maybe you should go to the dentist. So I really kept that tight. And so it got to the point where I'm scrolling one day, and I'm on my phone, and I'm like, okay, flipping, and then I saw implants, and I was like, yeah, that would be nice. And it was one of our local dentists, Comfort Dental. I saw Dr. I believe it's Bogapane. Might be butchering his name, but everybody calls him Dr. Bo. And the very last time I went to the dentist was, my wife has a family member that is into dentistry, and she needed a candidate, somebody with bad teeth. And my wife's like, I know a guy. So she basically volunteered me to be the person, which I did not mind. I mean, she needs a bad tooth candidate. I'm it. I'm like definition bad teeth candidate. She was like, how often do you floss? And I'm like, 2-3 times. And she's like, what, week? And I was like, year. Which brings me to this. If you go to the doctor, if you go to the dentist, whatever it is you're going to, especially about your health, don't lie. Like, either A, they're going to see through your lies and your bullshit, or if they don't, they're not going to be able to help you in the correct way. One thing I've learned is, if you're having a problem of any kind, especially dental work, but as for me, don't lie. Don't say, oh, I do it. Because if I would have told her I'd floss 3, 4, 5 times a week, she would have looked at me like, you're a liar. Seriously. So, moving on. I decide to get the denture, go through the process. I'm looking into financing. And when looking at it, it was going, I called and she said it's going to be about $28,000 to $32,000, which she was talking about over the phone at Comfort Dental. She was talking about implants. Excuse me, sorry. She was talking about implants, and that's what I was kind of going for. I was like, either go big or nothing at all. So we get to the dentist, and I was like, $32,000. That's a truck payment, okay? And just truck is almost paid off, so kind of works out, right? We get to the dentist's office, and we're in this consultation room, and there's traditional dentures on the table while we're waiting. There's snap-in dentures while we're waiting, and then there's implant dentures while we're waiting. Somebody's going to correct me on all the terms, but I apologize. So I'm looking, I'm like, you know what? Something's better than nothing. Right now, $750 plus a month is not really in our budget. So I'm just going to go with traditional dentures. I need to get these teeth out. We can deal with it later. And so while we were talking, I'm not going to go into why and hows, but we decided to just do the snap-ins, which is like meeting in the middle. So in New Mexico, at Comfort Dental, for me, I was looking about, I think it was like $7,000 to $8,000 for traditional dentures. I'm looking at $22,500 for the snap-in, what I'm getting. And then it was going to be $29,000 to $30,000, which I didn't exactly get a confirmed quote because we decided just to stay in the middle. Now here's my relationship advice, okay? Do not deprive your spouse of attention. I spent hours and hours of just scrolling and searching and doing all this research about dentures, what dentures are, how uncomfortable they are. I started following this person, that person, that person. I increased me following other people at least 190%. easy. I mean, I went from somebody who doesn't really subscribe to people unless they have some really good content to automatically like subscribing to every single channel that I watched that had good info. One being, and I mention her all the time, Callan Jax. Callan Jax has great videos from start to where she's at now. She puts her videos together very well. She's very honest and she's very thorough. So for me, I found it better just to listen to her videos. I'd be at work. You know, I drive. 99.9% of my time is driving. So I just throw her on, listen to her in my earbuds, and I get a lot of info that way. This way I don't have to do a lot of scrolling, but then I get a lot of her info. She talks all the way from getting her teeth extracted all the way up to what it's like to have some good top of the line implants. I believe she calls them hybrids. Don't quote me on that. I tend to kind of tune that out because I'm not there yet, and I don't know if I ever will be. So don't deprive your spouse of attention. I spent hours just, you know, my wife's like talking to me, and I'm just like, huh? What? You know, do research, but don't over-research. If there's one thing I've learned the most, is don't over-research. You know, if you find somebody and they have some good stuff on kind of what to expect, that's great and that's good. This way you have an idea of what's going to happen. There's some people that get dentures and they're just like, never had a problem. Other people, nothing but problems. It's going to be different for you. It is completely different for me. I've had a very uncomfortable first 2 weeks experience, I would say. After my first soft reline, I got a lot better. I've learned that I cannot use Dentach. I believe I'm saying the name Dentach. D-E-N-T-T-E-C-H. Dentach. The soft molding lasts like a week. I cannot use that. I had a crazy reaction on that. Don't talk about it all the time. My wife and I were at dinner any single night, here at home, out and about, whatever. Dentures, 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 dentures. That's all she heard was dentures. Enough that she was like, if your teeth were not ripped out, I would have ripped them out, you know? So, you know, express what's going on to your spouse, but also, too, understand it's going on in your head, literally. So therefore, it's on your every single thought. At least for me, I think about my dentures being in my mouth all day, every day. And that is my wife. So, I want to let you go on this because I want to answer this. But don't deprive your spouse. Don't talk about it all day. They want to know, but let them ask. So have a good day and be safe out there.